started making beats when I was around, 14, 15, somewhere around that ballpark. It was really just something I did just for fun. I was just playing around with DJing software because I was bored. I don't even remember the name of the DJ software. I know one of them is Virtual DJ, but it was also another software that I used, but I don't even remember the name of it. Then I stumbled across FL Studio, and from there it just began for me. Throughout high school, because that was around the time that I started making beats, probably around my sophomore year or so. But I was playing around with it before my sophomore year, but really getting into it, taking it serious as like an art thing to me when I was about a sophomore. So I'll say, had to be around maybe 14, 15 years old, somewhere around there. And I would just spend hours when I got home from school making beats, like just drum patterns, or at that point in time, I didn't even know what a VST was. I didn't know about adding, or you can go buy different VSTs or anything like that. I really just made drum loops and played around with the piano roll with the little FL plugins. It never did anything beyond that until probably a year or so later when I found out about Nexus. Once I found out about Nexus, it was like the game changed for me. It was like, this is serious. And then I started looking at other people who were making beats, such as like Lex Luger and all those guys. They were making a living off of the beats that they were making, and I was like, yo, I could do this now. So after I graduated high school in 2010, and the goal and dream of mine was actually to live off of my music, and to be able to do that would be like a huge blessing to me. And it's just crazy to see how now I'm in a position to where I live off my music. Back then, right out of high school, I had a job at Tim Hortons, and if you guys are on my YouTube channel, you heard the story about how I went to meet Twista and gave him a beat CD thinking that it was going to change my life, and that didn't happen. But at that point in time, I was working at Tim Hortons, and whenever I didn't work, I was just making beats. I had a little keyboard at that point in time, just like a plain keyboard that you just pull out and play, but it had a MIDI function on it where you plug it in with the USB. So from there, I plugged that into FL Studio and started using that as a MIDI controller. And then shortly after that, I invested in an Pt.1 by Kai, and that's the keyboard that I made a lot of the songs that you guys heard with. Like, I made Try Me on that one. A lot of the stuff I did with Dej Loaf was made on that keyboard before I got the complete control. But anyway, so from there, I started working at Target, and it was just, at first it was cool, I was 18, 19, and it was like, yeah, this is fun. I got this little job, I got a little discount, I could do this, I could do that. And then if I wanted to buy sounds, I would have to save up so much money, like save up money from checks, because them checks wasn't nothing. It was probably $250 every 2 weeks or something like that. So when you get a car and all that stuff, that money gets eaten up. So what happened was, I would say the fall of 2012, I found out that my girlfriend was expecting, and I had to do something. Target wasn't gonna cut it. So I went and I applied for a job at a factory, and I still was making beats. Still making beats. And then once I got the job at the factory, I was making beats less and less and less and less and less. Like 2013 was my worst year for making beats since I started making beats. I was working that factory job, and I would work anywhere from 40 to 50 something hours per week. And I would have to drive to the place and then drive back from the place. I mean, it wasn't too far, but that still factors in your time. I had a newborn child, and it's just, I had the hardest time trying to make beats, but I still did it. I went to a point where I had to go to the library. Like, I would take all my equipment up to the library and make beats. And it was just like, I did that because I was in a space of, I didn't know what was going to happen with my future. I knew that working at the factory wasn't a life that I really wanted. So once I figured that that wasn't what I wanted, it was kind of like, well, what else can I do? I mean, I went to school, but I didn't get a degree necessarily. I have a associate's degree and a certificate, and I knew graphic design and all that, but I knew that life wasn't for me. You know, at that point in time, I knew that the Target money wasn't really money for me, and then I knew that the factory, yeah, I made some money, but the money there wasn't worth my time. You know, I'm giving up so much time of my life being there, and those people do not care. Like, when I was working there, people would tell me like, yeah, you have dreams, you had this, you had that, man, you got to get out of here. You got too much going on that you could do to be here, sitting here. And keep in mind, during those days, I was still making beats, but it was just hard. Like, at that point in time, I don't even know how many beats I made. I would say I probably made 1 or 2 beats a week. And that was all I could do at that point in time, because it was just so much going on, so much taking up my time. So I had to find a way to get out of that job. And that's where the whole thing about me writing out my escape plan, as I call it, to leave that job. Like, I wrote out a plan. You just had to sneak every day, writing, no matter what it was, in between parts. Like, I'll have this one part here, move it over there. I already did what I did to it. The other one is a few stations down. Let me pull out this notebook and write this out real quick. Used to listen to podcasts all day about how to become an entrepreneur or something like that. You know, how to build a business, how to live freely, because I want financial freedom. It's not about the money with me. I just want to have enough money so that way I can be free. So I literally wrote out a plan on like a lot of half sheets of paper, and I would study those things. I would recite those things to myself, read them over and over, so that way I was getting it put in my head. And then once I finally finished the plan, they called me into the office. Everybody knew that people were about to start getting laid off, and then that day they started laying people off. And I didn't think nothing of it, because I'm like, I'm a good worker. I'm in here every day. Don't call off. I don't talk like that to people. I never get in trouble for talking. So it's like I just stay in my own little space and just focus on what I want for my future. And then they called me into the office, and I'm like, wow, this is really about to happen. And they let me go. And it was just like, wow, I didn't know what I was going to do next. Because like that whole process of trying to find a job, especially a few years ago, was even harder, because it's like now it seems like people are having an easier time getting jobs. But back then, it was like, man, this is going to be a struggle. So that was in 2014. So during that whole process, I had came across a mixtape that had Dej Loaf on it. Excuse me. And I heard it, and then I said, you know what, I really want to work with her. So I reached out to her management at the time, and they sent out the beats. I didn't specifically say I wanted to work with Dej Loaf. I wanted to work with the group all together. But Dej Loaf was the only one who responded to the email of beats. And from there, and then the funny thing about that is I sent the guys in the group beats before, and they never used them, or I never got anything back from it. Maybe except for once. But yeah, so Dej said that she liked the beat. She wanted a full version of one of the snippets I sent her. Then I looked her up on Twitter, and she was talking about how she didn't like when producers started sending her snippets, or sent her snippets, not start sending her snippets. So I apologized, like, oh, I'm sorry, I really want to work with you, so I'm going to start sending you full beats and blah, blah, blah. Now keep in mind, this was at a point in time where I wasn't really even making beats like that, but nobody was using my beats. Nobody. I couldn't give my beats away. Well, I probably could give them away if people use them, but I wasn't charging that much. I was like, give me $100, give me $50, you know, and nobody would buy them. So I'm like, well, forget it. I'm not going to try and sell stuff to people who's not using it or doing anything with it. I'm just going to find somebody that I want to work with and just give them all my music. That was really my mindset. And from there, and I'm telling this story along with the story of me getting laid off, because they're going to crash into each other. So I ended up getting laid off in March. I think it was like March 11th of 2014. I got laid off, and back in that January, I had already started sending Dej Loaf beats. So from there, she had been working on some stuff. And I remember when I got laid off, I made a beat called Good Life, because I really sat there and I was like, there's so much negative stuff going around that going on, I say not going around. I just really want to put some positivity out there. So I just made the beat. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to send this to Dej and see if she can do something with it. And then from there, that song became Try Me. She recorded to it. And keep in mind, at this point, I hadn't even met her in person. It was just all off Twitter. So I went and sent her the beat. She recorded it, sent it back to me, and then told me that she was going to perform it at a show she had coming up in May of that year. So that was my first time going to meet her. I went and bought tickets to her show for me and my girlfriend, and we went and, you know, showed support. It was amazing seeing. That was my first time seeing somebody perform anything I recorded, you know. So I mean, not anything I recorded, anything that I produced. So she did that, and you know, at that point in time, it wasn't that many people at that show. It was a small group of people, but that song was just, it was dope, you know, along with her other stuff, because her other stuff was what made me want to work with her. But from there, I went back, kept on working, because like I said, I was laid off, so I was making beats. I had my son all day, my girlfriend was working, and then it was like, while she was at work, I kept my son, and while when she got off work, it was like I went to work on my beats. And you know, that's just a part of the story. It's like I was living off unemployment, and at the time I still stayed with my parents, so that helped out a lot. But just unemployment wasn't really nothing. And then on top of that, you know, I had a job where I had insurance, so my son was on my insurance that I was paying for. But then when I lost that job, I had to go find another way to get insurance. And then once I found another way to get insurance, it's like, well, you got to get into the system. I don't want to go into detail about all that, but I'm sure if you have a kid and you've been through that stuff, you know about that stuff. It's like, if you need any type of assistance with anything, you got to get on child support and all that. So I had that, I had bills, and I had a kid, had myself. It's like, try to make it off of, I don't even remember how much those unemployment checks were, but they weren't a lot, especially when you deduct the other stuff out of it. It's like, okay, so I got this to live on. So it was just, I made that decision to do something, you know, try and work on my own. I sat there and started putting those plans into effect. Like I sat there and was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start promoting this, promoting that, promoting this. This how I'm gonna do it. This how I'm gonna do it. And then it started falling into place. I had people from other countries coming in, dropping me $300 for a beat, which was, at that point in time, that was amazing, because one, I wasn't making no money doing nothing else but sitting at home on unemployment. Then outside of that, it was like people around me wouldn't even give me $25 for a beat. So here's somebody from on the other side of the world, or somebody in Canada spending their hard-earned cash on me, like, hey, this is lovely. So I was really just focusing on that, and then sending Dej Loaf, kept sending her beats. Like, no exaggeration, like I really believe before Try Me blew up, she had over 100 beats from me, and they're free. So that goes to the whole free beats debate. Like, if you want to work with somebody, you can't just throw it to the side because they're not paying you, or push it because they're not paying you, unless you're just somebody of that. If you have that status, and it's like, but even then, even if you have the status, it's like, if you want to work with somebody, you should just give it to them, because you can always make more beats. Somebody steal it, there's ways you can come back and get your money and all that. There's ways to do anything. So don't be so caught up on giving free beats away, because free beats changed everything for me. If I didn't want to work, if I wanted to work with her, but I'm like, yeah, I need $200, $100 for all of these beats, and she was just like, well, I can't do that at the time, or whatever it might have been. She might have been able to pay me for it, but I just didn't approach her with it. But I'm just saying, had she not been able to pay it and I walked away from it, who knows where I would be right now. So don't get so caught up on the upfront money or everything, because it can come later on down the line if you focused on the music and you want to get the work in. Not saying you don't need the money, but the money will come. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So she had over 100 free beats from me, and once Try Me took off, which was, I remember she released it the 4th of July weekend of 2014, and she put it out, and I remember, oh, we got 300 plays in the first day. Like, if you go back through my Instagram, you can see all that stuff. Now I have a whole lot of posts, so you're gonna have to look far, but you can see all that stuff. Like, I was, oh, we hit 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000. Like, it just kept going and going and going. People were reposting it from parties across the country, and it was dudes making videos with their guns and all that. And it was just one of those things that it was just like, wow, like, I'm really a part of this. And that's the craziest part. It's like, I made this beat just sitting in my room because I wanted to make something positive because I was going through a hard time. And it changed my life. You know, it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until it was a hit. You know, like I have a plaque for it. It went gold, it went #1 on urban radio, and it changed my life. And that's really my point about all of it. Like this whole documentary or video that I'm doing here is just simply about keep pushing, like no matter what it is, because I was at rock bottom. Like if like I had my parents that I was staying with, but it's still rock bottom because you don't want to be that kid or the man going to your parents like, hey, I need money for this, I need money for that. Like I didn't ask my parents for money. It was just like if I had it, I had it. If I didn't, I didn't. I had to find my way, get my legal way of getting it. You know, I was selling stuff on eBay. That was another thing that I did to get some extra money coming in. I did eBay. If it was Black Friday, I would go out, stand in line, buy a whole bunch of stuff, and then sell it on eBay. Make money, have a beautiful Christmas. There's somebody that I reserved the Xbox One, Day 1 edition when they first came out. I reserved it for $5, and I went and I was like, you know, I can't even afford to get this. And that was when I was working at the factory, and it was like Christmas, around Christmas time or something. So the Xbox One came out. So I just put up a status on Facebook like, who wants to buy Xbox One? I think it was gonna cost me maybe $400, $500, somewhere around there. And I think at that point in time they were sold out, especially the Day 1 edition. So somebody hit me up like, hey, I got $700 for it right now, and I'm like, hey, man, let me go buy that Xbox and do that. So that just goes to say, like, it was hard. Like I had to do all that to try with a job. I had to do all that to try to maintain. So I've been down that whole thing of no money and all that. You working in the job you hate. You know, I was probably borderline depressed. I was in a very dark space, very, very dark space during those times. And it's like I had to keep working. Nothing stopped me from getting to the work. Even when I was working at that factory, I still made beats 2 a week. I wish I could have did more, but that was all I could do at the time, and it was like my little escape. So what I want you guys to know is, like, if somebody's watching this right now who's going through that hard time and like thinking about giving up because this ain't going their way, this ain't going that way, they hate this, they hate that, don't let that stop you. Keep going. Like, stuff don't seem like it's happening. Like I said, nobody would use my beats. When I said nobody, I could probably name 3 people who used my beats before Dej Loaf did. And I was making beats for years. Not saying that they were the best beats, because I would be the first person to tell you that they wasn't all that. But it's like, man, nobody using these beats. But you know, once that happened, you know, it was like everything changed. People want to work with you. People want to do this. People want to do that. People want to do this. People want to do that. So it's like the whole basis of this is you going through a hard time, keep working, you can change your life. Like no matter what it is you're trying to do, doesn't even have to be with music. It's like one thing can change anything. And I feel like that's my story. Like if you know me, my thing that I say is thank God and keep pushing, because it's like I'm thankful for everything that happened to me. I'm thankful for the bad times, I'm thankful for the good times, but it's like no matter what, if it's good, if it's bad, keep pushing, keep working, because things will get better. So yeah, so this whole thing was pretty much just, I just wanted to share a piece of my story. I'm gonna go into more detail about some things in a different project that I'm working on, but this is like a trailer to that project, I guess you could say. I just really wanted to share part of my story, like how I went from working that factory life to being where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is I'm a music producer. I sit at home, make beats, you know, play video games, watch movies, you know what I'm saying, write some music sometimes, record some music, playing around sometimes, just, you know, just enjoying life, like living off of my music. And it's like, I just imagine if I would have stopped. Like imagine if I would have gave up when I got that job. Imagine if I would have gave up when I was having a kid. You know, a lot of people are saying you put time into this, you need to start putting more time into this, or do something more constructive with your time. And I'm like, I just believed in myself. So you have to believe in yourself. Like don't let nothing take that away from you. If you feel you can do something, you can do it. Nothing's impossible. Just gotta have faith. And I believe in God, so I pray about everything and I keep going. So if you believe in God or whatever you believe, then you just follow that, and then from there you just go all out with it. You know, I went through having negative bank account balances and all that, and it's like, it's amazing when your life can just change like out of nowhere. Like, I didn't know Try Me was gonna be what it became. It just was something that really changed my life. It was just, I was happy just to have somebody, I was just happy to have somebody using my songs, somebody that I liked. I liked her music, and it was like, it made me happy to have somebody using my stuff. And to me, that was like, oh man, she's using this, she's using that, she's using this one, she's using that one. And that was just like, wow. And I'm appreciative for all of that. And yeah, it's just, I went, like I said, went from having no money to, you know, money coming in off of music. You know, it's a blessing. I'm really grateful for it. I sit back and I think back to them old days of, man, I remember when I used to walk around with $10 in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? Going to work, all I had was $10 in my pocket, $20, you know, and it was just like, okay, I had a little bit of savings, but that's my rainy day. So if something happened, then it's like I got to go in there, and it was hard. I know some people have it worse, and I'm not trying to say I had it worse than everybody. I'm just saying, I'm just letting people know that I can relate to the struggle, and just, you have to keep going. Like, I may even title this just like Keep Pushing. This is just a portion of my story. I'm gonna make other videos about other things, like go into detail about other things, but you know, I just really wanted to hit those main points and keep pushing. Don't let the money be the deciding factor if you're gonna work with somebody or not, and the money will come. And it's like, really, that's all it is to it. It's like, another thing I wanted to touch on was like, you know, I didn't have too many people believing in me. You know, people telling me like, man, you gonna make it off the music, man. You gonna make it, keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, I had a few people telling me that, but it's like, people will say that they want the best for you and all that, but, and it could be true, but they just don't want you to fail or, you know, put yourself in a messed up situation. Because if you stop, because the way a lot of people look at it is, if you stopped doing like the job type thing, like the typical thing, you know, get up, go to work, get a check, come on, get up, go to work, you know, go in and do that, you have guaranteed money. But it's really not guaranteed, because like in my situation, they told me I was a great employee and everything as they were letting me go, which is just crazy to me. But anyway, and it's people, back on that for 1 second, it was people who were there, who was working there for probably 5-10 years, and they got let go. So it's like, you know, anyway, I was just saying, like, people will say that they want the best for you, but I think a lot of times people are afraid that you will fail, and then what are the results of you failing? You know, at that point I had a kid, so people were like, oh, you need to do this and make sure that baby has food. But it was like, I looked at it like, I get unemployment checks, I'm doing my my eBay thing, and I'm selling beats here and there for nice chunks of change. So it's like, my son will be fine. But when it came to me, it was like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'd rather buy some sounds before I go buy anything else. So it's just like, but I had a strong belief in myself. Like, I was like, you know, I'm gonna take these 3 months and make something happen, you know. That was just my mindset, because I had unemployment checks for 3 months. So it's like, okay, I can make this happen. I can make this happen. It was like every day, getting up, working nonstop, doing what I had to do, taking risks as far as investing in sounds. And like, if I got an unemployment check, I probably saved up 2 of them, and I went and bought Complete, like with the checks, with no more money after that. I mean, like I said, I had a savings, but it's like I went and I bought Complete, and then that changed my whole music. And it was like, man, I'm sitting up here doing this, doing that. It took a whole bunch of my money, but it was worth it in the long run. And when I think back on it, I'm like, what made me go spend almost all my money on some sounds? So another thing I want to touch on was just like, I could have went back to my job. I could have went back to being comfortable, but I didn't like that place. They called me, like, I don't remember the exact date, but they called me, asked me if I wanted my job back. I said I had to think about it. And they said, okay, we'll give you a couple days. We'll email you and we'll ask you again. They emailed me again, or emailed me and asked me, and I just told them, no thank you. Seriously, said no thank you. I didn't have any other job openings. I didn't have any other, what they call it, job prospects or whatever. I had that belief in myself, like something's going to happen with this. I'm going to make it happen, and I'm not going back to that. So literally the next day after I told them no, they emailed me again. I didn't even respond, and then that's the day that Try Me started blowing up. Seriously, like I told them no, and the next day they emailed me that morning and asked me was I sure. I didn't even respond to that, and then from there, that's where Try Me started taking off. So it's just, to me, I look at that like that was God, you know. I'm being, like, I stood with what I believed in for myself. Like, even though everybody was saying, yeah, you should get a job, you should do this, you should do that, you're making stuff harder on you. If you try to get another job, they're gonna say you ain't been working, or you haven't done this, you haven't done that. But I believe that I can make something happen. And since I believe that I can make something happen, it's like, I feel like I stuck with it. I worked every day making beats. No matter how tired I was making beats every day. I don't even think I make beats every day now. I make a lot of beats, but I don't make them every single day, because some days I just don't be in that zone or don't feel it like I did back then. I don't know, but back then it was like I was just going every single day. And you know, I feel like I prayed about it every day. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I pray that something happened soon. And like I said, boom, the next day I stuck with it, and boom, it just happened. And my life changed. I can remember when, I'm not going to disclose the amount of money that the beats and all that stuff were sold to record labels and all that, because I'm not going to start going through numbers. But when I first got a check for Try Me and the song We Good, for the beats and the song, I went and bought me an Xbox. Xbox One, and it comes full circle because I sold the one, like, it was almost a year before that. It was probably 10 months or so before that, and that was the first thing I did. Went out and bought an Xbox One and some games. Like, that was a special day to me. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. And then when I first got some real money off of it, it happened 2 days before Christmas, and it was right on time. And I'm just sharing all that just to say, like, as the point that I keep pushing through all this is just keep pushing. Like, no matter what you go through, I don't care what you're doing. Like, it doesn't even have to be music. If you just want to do something on your own, keep pushing. You got dreams and goals, keep working towards them no matter what. If you can only afford to put in a couple hours a day doing it, do it. Like, you're gonna have to lose the sleep. There were days where I only slept for 2 or 3 hours because I had to try and figure out a way to make something work. So, I mean, not saying that that's for everybody, not saying that that's the best thing to do, because you need your rest, but you have to figure out your time to get out there and do that work. So, yeah, I mean, more will be coming. I'm going to go more in detail in different things on a longer video, but I just really wanted to see what you guys think about this. You know, I know a lot of people want to know about my background. I get asked a lot of questions and stuff, so I don't mind sharing stuff with you guys as long as it's nothing too personal or crazy. So I just hope that you guys enjoyed this little project that I put together, and, you know, let me know what you guys think about it. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you're not new, I appreciate you for supporting me, supporting my videos. This was an all over the place video, so hopefully you guys didn't mind that. I just really wanted to share a part of my story. Like I said, this was only a part of it. Like, I really only talked about me working at Target. I started making beats when I was young, working at a factory, having a kid, being broke on unemployment, and then Try Me blowing up. I didn't go through all the different things that happened before I even started making beats. Like, I used to have a graphic design business. I was making money on MySpace, selling MySpace layouts. And it's like, I think about MySpace was popping out. I had about 80,000 friends on MySpace back then. I would probably be a whole nother level, but I mean, it is what it is. Everything happened for a reason. MySpace long gone, but yeah, I just wanted to help I wanted to get my story out there because I feel like it can help people, because I noticed with some of my videos, some people comment that they're going through similar situations that I was going through, you know, from the money being low, you want to have money to invest in yourself, and then even with that, if you don't have the money to invest in it, it's like you just have to find a way. You got the talent. That's how I looked at it. Like, I make music, I had the beats, I just had to find a way to get it to sell. What I did was I just started banging my beats on social media, like throwing them up all the time. That was my thing. Like, every day I'm working. And people take notice of that. I mean, you don't spam people, send them your links and stuff, but post. People see that. That causes people to follow you. And then from there, they'll hit you up like, hey, I'm interested in this beat that you make. You send me this? There you go. Oh, I like it. What's your PayPal information? Let's work out a price. Okay, let's work out a price. Okay, you got my PayPal info? Yeah, I got your PayPal info. 20 minutes later, the payment's in my PayPal. Here's your beat. You know, you could be doing anything. If you could play the piano, you could sell piano loops. You can get piano lessons. If you play guitar, you can give lessons, sell loops. You know, I always go to the baked goods stuff. If you a baker, you can sell your cookies and all that stuff. There's ways to do it. You just have to find it. I can't give you the answer to what you can do, but you can sit up there and brainstorm. That's what I had to do at that job that I didn't like. Made me brainstorm every day. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for watching this video. This project was something that I really wanted to do. I hope it turns out as well as I want it to turn out. But I just want to really thank y'all, because I'm doing this all myself. I shoot my own videos. I try to look over theirs to give it like a little different vibe. Like, I'm not looking directly at the camera like I'm having a conversation with someone, but I'm so used to talking to you guys, I end up turning this way and staring at the camera. But I edit these by myself and all that. So I'm just trying to, you know, put out quality content that can help inspire others, because that's what really means the most to me, is when you guys write me and say how I inspire you and all that. And that really means something, because I mean, I could be helping you change your world. I may not change the world, but I can help you change your world. So thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment, like, let me know what you guys think in the comments below.